The pink wallpaper was already up when she walked in. Not a box unpacked, not a dish put away. But that room, the one she'd been promised, the one she'd paid for, had pastel pink wallpaper, fairy lights, and her sister's name spelled out. In gold-foil letters over the headboard, "Wait, what is this?" Jasmine's voice came out small, like it couldn't believe what her eyes were seeing. From the hallway, her mom shouted over the hum of the moving crew, "Oh, baby, we figured." Since Nia's going through so much with her breakup, she needed the bigger room. Jasmine didn't move, just stood there, fingers grazing the frame of the door she used to dream about. Her first space, her reward for years of working late shifts, skipping parties, sacrificing sleep to stack savings. She was 23, with 2 jobs, a nearly perfect credit score, and enough self-control to walk away when the bank told her parents their name alone wouldn't qualify. Jasmine had co-signed and covered the down payment without blinking. Her name was on the papers. Not Nia's, not even her parents'. The house was in her name, they knew that. They just didn't care. It hadn't always been like this. Back when they all lived in that 2-bedroom apartment with the leaky faucet and rusting window bars, Jasmine used to draw blueprints on the back of cereal boxes, little homes with big windows and bedrooms labeled Mom, Dad, Mine. And Nia used to laugh at her for it. "Why are you always acting like some old architect?" But Jasmine kept drawing, kept dreaming. She skipped prom. She skipped spring break. She skipped all the things her sister never did, because Jasmine had already decided she would be the one to break them out of struggle. She just never expected them to turn on her the moment she did. That night, the house echoed with celebration. Aunties, cousins, little kids stomping through rooms they hadn't paid for, yelling which one was theirs. Nia pranced around the house like it was a reality show reveal. "I told you all this new place was luxury," she said, throwing herself onto the bed Jasmine had picked out online, delivered and assembled. No one looked at Jasmine. No one thanked her. Her mom pressed a red cup into her hand and said, "Loosen up, baby, this is a good day, don't be selfish." Jasmine sipped and nodded. She said nothing, but her silence had weight, because while they were celebrating a house, she was remembering a contract, and she knew something they didn't. She left the party early. Nobody noticed. The music was still loud when she slipped her shoes back on by the door. People were crowding around the kitchen island, laughing, drinking, dancing with sticky red cups like it was their name on the deed. But it wasn't. It was hers. Jasmine Imani Cole, in perfect block letters on a white document tucked into a fireproof folder under her bed at the apartment she still hadn't given up. Not this bed. Not this house. She hadn't moved in yet. Something in her had told her to wait, and tonight proved why. When she stepped outside, the air was cool and too quiet for how loud her chest felt. She walked the long way home, 20 minutes through. The neighborhood she'd picked for its schools, its parks, its safety. She'd chosen this house because she'd wanted better for all of them. Nia, with her broken heart and streaming drama. Mom, with her tired knees and dreams of a garden. Even Dad, who barely said a full sentence these days, but kept their old rent receipts like battle medals. She'd meant it as a gift, but now it felt like a transaction she'd never agreed to. Monday came. She didn't answer any group texts. Tuesday, she didn't reply to Nia's "We'd sis," or her mum's "Can you send the link for that bed frame again?" By Wednesday, her dad called and left a short voicemail. "Your mum said you're mad. Don't be. We didn't think you'd care." She didn't respond, but she did. Pull out the mortgage packet again. Reread every line. Verified the payment schedule. Cross-checked the clause that let her sell the house without their consent. She highlighted it in neon yellow. They thought because she was quiet, she was soft. They forgot she got her degree in accounting. Forgot she interned at a title firm. forgot that the girl who used to draw blueprints on cereal boxes had grown up. Grown into the one holding the key. Thursday night she showed up unannounced. The door was unlocked. Laughter spilled out from the living room where Nia and her friends lounged in pajamas, wine glasses full, candles burning, Netflix on pause. It was girls' night. "Oh my God," Nia said, popping up off the couch. "Look who finally decided to come home." Jasmine didn't smile, didn't take her shoes off. Nia's smile faltered. Behind her, one of her friends whispered, "That's the sister who paid for it, right?" Jasmine turned to her. "I'm not her sister," she said. Calmly, "I'm her landlord." Silence. Choked silence. Then Jasmine walked upstairs, right past the pink door, past the gold lettering, and into the room at the end of the hall. She didn't slam it, just closed it gently. She didn't need revenge, just receipts. And she had all of them. Jasmine didn't come down for dinner. The smell of garlic bread drifted under the door, and she could hear her mom's voice, sweet and fake, floating through the vents, like it used to when company came over and they were pretending to be closer than they were. "She must be tired," her mom said. "Girl works too much. Always has." Then a pause. "She'll get over it." The words landed like stones. The next morning, Jasmine was already dressed before the sun came up. Slacks, pressed blouse, flats, hair slicked and braided into a low bun. Her court outfit. She didn't need to be in court. She just liked how people sat up straighter when they thought she did. She walked downstairs with a quiet command, past her mother still in a robe, and Nia curled up on the couch with a throw blanket she didn't pay for. Neither said good morning. Jasmine opened the fridge. Empty shelves except for Nia's oat milk and a single half-eaten takeout box. Her mom cleared her throat, testing the waters. "You could have at least said hello last night." "I wasn't spoken to." "Oh, come on, don't be dramatic." Jasmine pulled out a protein bar and tossed it in her tote bag. She paused before leaving, looking them both in the eye. "I'll be back Sunday," she said. "Try not to stain the carpet. I'm getting it appraised next week." Nia blinked. Appraised for what? But Jasmine was already out the door. At work, she focused. Numbers calmed her. People's chaos reduced to spreadsheets and clean lines. But every time someone called her ma'am or asked about refinancing, she thought about the way her mother had said, "Don't be selfish." She thought about how Nia used the word mine with things she hadn't lifted a finger to earn. How quickly they'd decided Jasmine's hard work was theirs to divvy up. Like love was supposed to come with forfeiture. Her therapist once told her, "You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." This week, she didn't even bring a match. By Sunday, they were waiting for her. The living room had been cleaned. Nia even wore a smile that was a little too wide, too desperate. "Hey, we got your favorite pizza," her mom tried. "And I made that strawberry lemonade you like." Jasmine didn't blink. "Thank you. I'll eat in my room." "You mean Nia's?" her mom started. Jasmine turned. "I mean mine." The room at the end of the hall, with the private bath. The one listed on the deed and in the mortgage packet. "Do you want me to print you a copy?" Silence. Her mother's lips pressed thin. Nia's face turned blotchy red. "I didn't ask for the room," Nia muttered. "They gave it to me. I didn't even want it like that." "But you took it, and you made it yours, without asking me once." Jasmine didn't wait for a reply. She walked upstairs and closed the door behind her. She sat on the bed. Her bed now stripped of gold letters and pink walls. She'd spent Saturday repainting it a deep, calm grey. There were things they still didn't know. About the letters she'd mailed, the papers she'd signed, the buyer she'd already spoken to. They thought it was over, but Jasmine knew they were just getting started. Jasmine kept receipts the way some people kept photo albums, warranties, mortgage papers, transfer deeds. Even the original inspection report with the water damage no one else had bothered to read. She stored them in a weatherproof box beneath. her bed. One of the only boxes she did move into that house. The rest stayed at her apartment. Just in case. By the following week, the tension was air-thick. Mom had stopped talking to her altogether, walking around the house in heavy silences, slamming pots and pans like punctuation. Nia flitted in and out, still acting like the house was hers to decorate, hers to host in, hers to occupy. Girls' night again Friday. She giggled on the phone one morning in the kitchen. Yeah, my sister lives here too, but she's barely ever home. She's like a ghost. Jasmine, sitting 5 feet away, didn't even flinch. Ghosts don't argue. Ghosts haunt. On Thursday, Jasmine took a long lunch and met with Marisol Rivera, her real estate lawyer, at the cafe near her office. She didn't just move into the room, Jasmine said, stirring her iced coffee slowly. She put up wallpaper, ripped out the shelves, started calling it hers like I wasn't even part of the equation. Marisol nodded. And the house title is solely in your name, correct? Jasmine slid the folder across the table. Mortgage, deed, property tax bills, and here's the contract I had with the interior designer, paid fully from my account. Marisol looked through the papers, brows rising. And you want to sell? I want to evaluate my options, Jasmine said, coolly. Rent, sell, subdivide, whatever gives me peace and gets them out of my name. Marisol tapped the folder. I'll get started, but just so you know, you're playing this real smooth. Jasmine gave the tiniest smile. That's the only way I know how. Back at the house that night, Jasmine returned to find her sister in her room again, feet kicked up on the freshly painted window bench, scrolling through her phone. Can I help you? Jasmine asked flatly. Oh, it has better lighting in here for selfies. Jasmine walked over to the dresser, opened the drawer, and pulled out the envelope marked Appraisal Confirmed. Cool, she said, eyes on her. Then, smile. This might be your last one in here. Nia blinked. What? Jasmine held the envelope like a mic drop. I'm getting it listed next month. Nia's mouth opened, but no words came out. Jasmine's voice stayed calm. You and Mom might want to start packing. Later that night, Jasmine sat at the little fold-out desk in the corner of the master. She pulled up a new spreadsheet titled Freedom Plan. One column labeled Exit Strategy, another labeled New Beginnings, because while they were still living like the house would always belong to them, Jasmine was already living like she had options, and for the first time in years she did. It started with the sign. A slim silver post stabbed into the lawn with a clean white rectangle hanging from it. Black letters, simple font, bold enough to punch through denial, private viewing, by appointment only. Cole Property Group. Mom was the first to see it. Jasmine had just come in from work when she heard her mother's voice slice through the hallway like a blade. Jasmine, what the hell is this sign out front? Jasmine didn't rush. She took off her shoes, folded her scarf, and walked into the living room like she was entering a meeting. Calm, unshaken. You said you wanted to redo the landscaping. That would have cost $6,000. I figured better to move somewhere that already has curb appeal. Nia stood at the stairs, mouth open like she'd just walked into a scene she wasn't ready for. You can't sell the house. I can, Jasmine said plainly. And I am. For the next 3 days the house turned cold. Not weather-wise, just in feeling. The tension hung like fog over dinner, in the way doors closed softer but voices grew louder. Jasmine heard them whispering. Mom called Grandma. Nia called her friends. Dad didn't say anything, which said everything. She's doing this out of spite, Mom hissed one night behind a cracked door. After all we did for her. Jasmine stood in the hallway, back straight, shoulders square. After all you did for me? She said nothing, because every time they thought they could guilt her into staying, they forgot one thing. She wasn't that little girl in the shared twin bed anymore. She was the homeowner, and now she was the one leaving them behind. The showings. Started on Monday, 3 couples, 1 investor. A single mum who brought her toddler and said, "I can already feel peace in this place." Jasmine smiled at that one, quietly. She hadn't felt peace here in months. By the following week, her mother cornered her in the kitchen. "You're really going through with this?" Jasmine closed the dishwasher. "Yes? Where are we supposed to go?" "I'm not sure," Jasmine said, voice like water over stone. "But I trust you'll figure it out." Her mother's eyes flashed. "You're being cruel." "No," Jasmine said, turning to face her. "I was being kind. Every sacrifice I made to get us here was love, quiet love. The kind that doesn't ask for parades or parties. Just respect." She stepped closer. "But when you gave my room to someone who didn't even work for it, when you called me selfish for wanting the space I paid for, that was cruel." Her mother's lip trembled, but she didn't reply. Jasmine nodded. "Don't worry, I'll give you time." She turned and walked upstairs. Behind her, the house sat still. No music, no laughter, just the sound of reckoning arriving. By Thursday, Nia had cleared out of the master. No announcement, no apology, just silence and the sound of sticky wallpaper being peeled from walls that no longer belonged to her. Jasmine passed her in the hall without a word. Nia avoided eye contact, dragging a bin of shoes into the smaller room down the corridor, the one with no ensuite, no double windows, no luxury sunlight, as she once called it in her Instagram captions. That night, Jasmine noticed the gold foil letters, NIA, stuffed into the trash bin at the curb. She didn't feel satisfaction, she felt closure. The house was scheduled for appraisal again the next week. This time, she'd made sure the appraiser understood what mattered. New paint, fixed water damage, fully owned equity, single name title. The man had looked over the paperwork and said, "You got this place under market? Good eyes." Jasmine nodded. She didn't mention how she'd found it between shifts at the diner, how she'd stayed up until 3 a.m. crunching mortgage calculators, how she'd kept the listing bookmarked for 8 months before she dared to believe she could make it happen. This house had never been luck. It had been labor. On Friday, her father knocked on her bedroom door. Not her mom, not Nia, her dad. Quiet, grey-eyed and tired, she opened it. He didn't step in. "Your mother wants to move in with her sister," he said, voice gruff. "She's ashamed." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "Of what?" He didn't answer right away. "She says she didn't realize what she was doing. That it felt normal to treat you like the backup plan. You've always handled things, always been the strong one." "I didn't volunteer for that," Jasmine said, arms folded. "It was placed on me, then expected of me, then erased." He looked at the floor. "I know, that surprised her." Then he added, "I think I let it happen, and I'm sorry." She studied his face for a long time, the bags under his eyes, the way his fingers trembled slightly. He looked older than she remembered. "You still have time to unlearn it," she said softly, and she meant it. Later that night, Jasmine opened her laptop and checked the latest offer. It was above asking. Price, clean contract, no contingencies. She hovered her finger over accept, then paused. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel fury behind the silence. She felt still, like a storm that had finally passed through every room of her body. Downstairs she heard laughter again, but softer this time. Not a party, not a takeover, just her parents, talking about casseroles. Nia saying she might start applying for jobs again. No one called it her house anymore, because now they finally knew it always had been. Saturday morning, the air was warm but still. Jasmine stood barefoot in the kitchen, stirring her tea while sunlight slanted across the floor. She once mopped alone. The silence no longer felt heavy. It felt earned. Down the hall, drawers opened and shut. Boxes shuffled, packing tape hissed. They were finally preparing to leave, not because she yelled, not because she begged, but because the paperwork had spoken louder than the blood in their veins. Marisol had emailed her again. Offer. Remain strong. Buyer is ready. Clock's ticking. Jasmine reread the contract. She could sign right now, cash out, start fresh somewhere else. But something made her pause again. She closed the laptop, walked to the dining room, and opened the drawer her mother once called the junk drawer. Inside, still taped to the back of a half-used notepad, was a folded blueprint. Crayon lines, tiny rooms, her childish handwriting labeling each space. Mom's room. My room. Garden here. And right in the corner, circled 3, times peace space, mine. She touched the paper with a soft breath. That afternoon, Nia caught her in the hallway. I'm not good at saying stuff, she mumbled, hair tied up, arms full of half-packed laundry. But I didn't mean to take it from you. Jasmine leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I think you just didn't care that you were. Nia winced. Yeah, that's probably worse. It hung between them. Then Jasmine said, You've always been the one people bent around. I just stopped bending. Nia nodded. I noticed, then quieter, almost ashamed. Did I lose you for good? Jasmine looked her over, not cruelly, just clearly. That depends. Are you willing to stop living off of what other people build? That. Time Nia didn't have a comeback, just a nod. That night Jasmine sat on the porch with her father. No TV, no background noise, just the creak of old wood and a calm she hadn't felt since escrow closed. He handed her a small envelope. She wanted you to have this. Said it was yours anyway. Inside was the checkbook, the one her mom used when she used to buy Jasmine's school uniforms with pride, the one that had been locked in a drawer ever since Jasmine started paying for herself. It was empty now, but symbolic. A quiet gesture. A small crack of accountability. Jasmine didn't say thank you. She just nodded. At 11:47 p.m. she opened her laptop one more time. The offer was still there, the buyer still ready. But Jasmine had made a different call. Instead of accept, she clicked decline, then typed out a message withdrawing from sale. Will convert to rental agreement, owner occupied, master reserved. She hit send, and then smiled, because it was still hers. And now it always would be. The lease agreement was signed on a rainy Tuesday. Jasmine sat at the kitchen table, her kitchen table, wearing a sweatshirt from her old college and a pair of worn slippers. No lawyers present, no cameras, just Marisol on speakerphone and her mother across from her, pen in hand, eyes downcast. It wasn't just a lease. It was the line in the sand, a clear legal boundary that spelled out everything they'd pretended. Didn't need to be said, this is mine. You live here now only because I allow it. Her mom signed without a word. Nia didn't even show up. 2 weeks later, Jasmine converted the garage into a home office. A real one this time. No more folding. Table and printer balancing on crates. She hired a black-owned contractor team, paid them well, and watched them work with the kind of care only folks who understand ownership ever bring to someone else's property. She printed the deed and framed it, hung it on the wall above her, desk not out of vanity, but memory, because people forget. But the house never does. Her parents stayed for another year. They paid rent, sometimes late, sometimes short. But Jasmine never raised her voice. She raised the terms. By the following spring, her mother decided it was time to be closer to family, and her father packed up his tools without protest. Nia left before both of them. She didn't say goodbye, just left a note on the kitchen counter. I didn't earn it, but I learned from it. Hope that means something. Jasmine folded it once and slid it into the same box as the old blueprints. Years later, Jasmine turned the house into a full duplex. She lived upstairs. She rented the lower unit to a single mum with twin boys, fresh out of a tough breakup, trying to rebuild. Jasmine gave her reduced rent for the first 6 months. The woman cried. Jasmine just smiled and handed her the keys. Just keep the garden alive. Every now and then, people still asked her, "Why? Didn't you just walk away?" She'd pause, sip her tea, and say, "Because they needed to feel what it's like to be let in by someone they once shut out." On the day she finally changed the locks and repainted the door, she didn't cry. She just stood on the porch, in the early morning light, hand resting on the frame, watching the wind move through the trees. The house stood still, strong, like it was waiting to be claimed again. And this time, for good. Jasmine opened the door, stepped inside, closed it. Behind her, home. Not because they gave it to her, but because she built it herself.